Hello, friends, and welcome back to Copy and the Marketing Podcast, where you learn how to write copy that sounds like you but converts better. Something really interesting has come onto my radar recently, and it's that a lot of people think that all words are copy. And I want to remind you, before we get started talking about sales pages today, that there's a difference between content and copy. Content tends to be, it can be visual, written content, it can be just about anything that goes anywhere in your marketing. The copy is the words that are made to convert. So as we talk about sales pages, we often think about sales pages as like they're these big complicated things that we have to write before a launch, but once they're written, we just set them and forget them. And then we can relaunch or we can drive traffic to a sales page and then it'll just sell for us. And that, of course, is my goal. My goal when I write for my clients or when I'm helping people write is to make the sales process simpler. That's for a lot of reasons. I want the sales process to be simpler for you so that you can run a business with less friction. I want your sales process to be easy for your buyer so that your buyer comes to your website and says, not only is this the person that I'm going to work with, but that you can start signaling early that you are an easy person to work with, that you are a clear person to work with. That's what I want you to get from your sales pages. I think what's happened in the last few years is that we've complicated what goes on a sales page. We've seen other people's sales pages, we've purchased from sales pages, so we think that we need some full flow or an outline. And when we think we need something on a sales page but don't know, what this leads to is really crappy templates that are trying to do it all. When what your people might need is just a simple sales page telling them what it is, why they should want it, and how to get it. And I talked about this back in episode 14, about what needs to go in your copy in general is really the only thing that you need there is what your people need to know to buy. But if you're launching this year and you're planning on a sales page refresh, I want you to listen to this before you touch anything. You can go back to episode 14 if you want to, but in this episode, I am going to simply talk about what is a sales page, what goes on it, and I'm going to talk about that in two ways, both from a tactical perspective and an emotional perspective. So if you already have a sales page or you're sitting down to write one soon, listen to this. We're going to talk about the 3 key areas to help make sure that your sales page actually freaking converts and how to build around that so that we're starting with the sale in mind. So first up, what is a sales page? Sales page is usually a page that lives somewhere on your website. It has its own URL, so it'll be www.yourthing.com/youroffer. It's usually dedicated to one service, one offer, one program, course, or singular service. It differs from a services page, which is typically the page on your website. So if we look at the top of your website, it probably says home, about, services, and contact. It differs from that services page in that it's dedicated to one service rather than talking about all of the services that you offer. It also differs from an opt-in page, which is a page that would typically be pretty short, sometimes not even more than one scroll, where people would opt in to learn more about what you do or get a free thing. So a sales page, in conclusion, sells something of monetary value and it sells one single thing, which means there's going to be one single call to action throughout the page is to buy that one thing. We can assume that from a sales page, we are going to your checkout page that will only let us buy one thing, right? So that's what a sales page is. What does it need? There are 3 key areas that I want to talk about today because these are the 3 things that people want to know when they come to your sales page. Is the above the fold, that's telling people what it is, why they should want it, and how to get it. We'll come back to this. Second thing is they want to know what the solution is that you're offering. They want to know what makes this the thing that they need. So that's thing number 2. We have above the fold, problems that lead to solutions, and 3, they need to know what they're getting as far as what they're going to spend to get it. So let's back up and talk about it. What needs to go in your above the fold? First of all, your above the fold is the first scroll of your web page, of your sales page. This is what people see when they land on your sales page, when they type in that www./yourthing, right? The above the fold is the first scroll. And in that first scroll, right when they land on the page, before they touch anything, they need to know 3 things. What they're getting, why they should want it, and how to get it. That how to get it is a call to action button. Every single one of your sales pages should have a call to action button above the fold. I get pushback on this occasionally because people will say, Sam, they don't come on this page and then suddenly spend $5,000 with me on this coaching program. You're probably right. The more expensive your thing is, the more people tend to think about it, which means that they're going to come back to your site. They're going to look for more information. And if they are coming here to buy from you, you need to make that as easy for them as possible. You need to make the message clear that this is a page that is going to sell you something. And here's how you can get it. So that's your call to action button. The other two things that you need above the fold are to tell them why they should want it and how to get it. This can be really simple. Let's make something up here. Let's say that you are selling a course for people who want to get really good at Canva. So you might say, the 3-week Become a Canva Expert course. Great, that's what it is. Why they should want it? Start doing your own visual marketing in 3 weeks or less. Start doing your own visual marketing that calls in clients, feels easy and on brand. That's why. You're telling them what happens as a result of them having your thing. This isn't that the goal is to buy something, because their goal is not to buy something. Their goal is to experience a transformation as a result of working with you. So again, above the fold, we need to tell them very simply what it is, why they should want it, and how to get it. That's going to be your heading, your subheader, and your call to action button. Typically, we're looking at 40 words or less, because what you want people to do is get on this page and decide immediately, is this for me? If so, they're going to buy in. They're going to start scrolling. If it's not for them, they're going to bounce out, and that's okay. You want to captivate the right people right away, because people's attention spans are wonderfully short. So let's save them time and, again, signal to them that you are easy to work with by giving them the details that they need right away. Then, we do need to talk about problems. And you'll hear me say in my other episodes that we don't want a sales page to be fully problem-focused. And here's what I see people do wrong, is I will go to a sales page and it'll have a decent above the fold. It'll say, join the program or do the thing. And I start scrolling and it starts talking about how everything is overwhelming. Everything is hard. And you can't do this, and your marketing feels bottlenecked, and your business is slow, and you can't get up off the ground. And we just scroll, and it's problem after problem after problem. And it's good to know your people's problems. In fact, you should have problem sections and problem agitation sections on the website, on your sales pages. But notice I said your problem agitation section. It's not simply telling them, I know that you have a problem. I know that you suck at Canva. I know that you feel tired. I know that business feels overwhelming. I know that you have a million tasks on your plate. That's the basics. But what we want to do is have these problems lead to solutions. So if you're looking at your sales page and thinking, oh my gosh, I have multiple scrolls of just problems and problems and problems, what you're doing is you're signaling to people that you're aligned with their problem. However, I encourage you to look at these problems and think, what are the ones that I have a unique position to solve? So rather than saying these sweeping statements like, you're an overwhelmed mompreneur who needs a break, say something more specific. Tell a story here. Really twist the knife and give them hope on the other side. So instead of saying something like what I just said, you're an overwhelmed mompreneur who needs a break, you could say, you find yourself writing down the same goal weight on your dream board every year, yet somehow the second week of January, field trips and business travel and life starts lifing, and you've missed your first trip to Costco. You feel like you've already failed because you didn't do your meal prep. You didn't fail, you just needed a system that works for you. See how that's so different? An overwhelmed mompreneur who needs a break, that could have been for any solution. But with this one, we've started to frame up that this is really what this problem looks like. This is what you're experiencing that is an outside thing. What you're experiencing emotionally is feeling like you failed and starting to line up the solution that I have a system that's going to work for you. So rather than multiple scrolls of problems, and we could continue to pontificate about more problems in this situation, depending on what the product is, how it's going to be delivered, how far away the audience is from understanding the solution. But that's just one example of how we can be really specific in our problem section to make sure that we are leading people to a solution. So that was thing number 2. Remember, on your sales page, you need a few things. You definitely need a really rock solid above the fold section where we tell people what it is, why they should want it, and how to get it. Then, maybe in the next scroll, maybe 2 scrolls down, we start naming problems and how there is hope on the other side. We start taking problems and moving them towards a solution. Then, what do people want to know? You have them so amped up. You are following this flow where you told them what you have, then you really dug in there, and you started to describe their problems, and you started to describe what the solution is, what they could possibly have, what this could feel like on the other side. So you're letting them ride this high. We want to follow this flow throughout the sales page. We don't want to keep bouncing back to the problems. Once we've named it, we want to tell them all of these amazing things that they're going to get. And then their next natural question is going to be, great, how do I get it? How much is this going to cost me? And that's where we get to the investment section. And I posted the other day on Threads that we need to have the investment section on our sales pages as service providers. And y'all, people tore me apart. People said, no, absolutely not. I want more people to get on my calendar, etc., etc. That's fine. If you've listened to my last episode, which was about should service providers put their pricing on their sales pages, you'll understand that it's not just me. Business coaches and business strategists agree that your pricing should be on your sales page. Now, I'm going to have a separate episode about how to put it on your sales page in a way that if you're not cookie cutter, which most of us aren't, how to put your pricing on your website in a way that still encourages people to get on a call with you. Because here's what happens if you don't put your pricing on your sales page is one of 2 things. It signals to them that you're not easy to work with, and they're not going to inquire at all, or you're going to get a bunch of inquiries, and people are going to get on those calls just wanting to know the freaking number. So they're not going to hear all of the other things that you have to say. And again, I want you to be closing on your calls, if that's the way that you sell, at a really high rate. I don't want you to be wasting your money. Now, granted, there's scoping calls, etc. There's ways that we can frame up what that sales call really looks like, but you still need to have a baseline on your website to make it easier for you and easier for them so that you're running a more frictionless business. So, what needs to go on the investment section? I'm going to make this the next episode, so make sure you tune in next week. But what typically needs to go on the investment is give them a baseline of how much it's going to cost, and then frame up the value. That's the biggest thing here, is that we want to frame up the value of working with you. Because we've probably all seen that it's not a meme, it's like an image, or maybe it's a screenshot of a LinkedIn post, I don't know. But it says if you go to Costco, you can get a case of 24 waters for $6. If you go to the vending machine at your job, you might be able to get a water for $1.50. If you go to the zoo in the heat of summer, or you go to Disneyland, you're going to pay $6 for that same bottle of water. So other people are selling things similar to what you do, and they might be charging more or less than you. The reason they can charge more or less is because they have framed up the value of what it is that you offer differently. That same bottle of water at Costco is going to be a fraction of the price of that same bottle of water at Disneyland. So you need an investment section, and you also need to lead with value. So that's why you go from the problem to the solution and telling them all of these incredible outcomes. That's going to be so valuable to them. And then you remind them that they could do it themselves, but they may fail. You could remind them of the time cost of not working with you. You could value stack and make sure that they know that everything that's included is actually worth way more than what they're going to pay. You remind them of the value of other things that you offer or alternate ways of working with you. And then you name the price and you give them the opportunity to buy. So yes, you need to have an investment section on your website. So remember, there are 3 things that you need. Your above the fold section, your problems and solutions, and you need to have an investment section on your sales page. Emotionally then, what does a sales page need to do? So that's tactically what you need. What emotionally do we need on this sales page? It is your job as a service provider to connect with your audience, build trust, and create a flow for them. Your sales page is part of your sales process. It is supposed to tell them this is what's the next step, and this is what happens as a result of taking that step. You need to build trust, which means I would encourage you to get photos of yourself on your sales page. I want it to feel like you have lived my life. I want to see myself through you in this sales page. So your sales page should be personable. It should have, again, images of you. It should be written in your voice. It should be building trust because you are a part of your sales page. You want to connect, you want to build trust, and you want your sales page to flow in a way that helps them see the problem and ride the high all the way to the solution. So if I were sitting where you are and I was launching soon, here's are 3 questions that I would ask myself if I were auditing my sales page. I would sit down and maybe with somebody who doesn't really know your business and look at the first scroll, that above the fold section, and ask myself, is it clear in the first 10 seconds of visiting the sales page what I do and why somebody should want it? I would then ask myself, does it speak super specifically into the soul of my ideal buyer? Do they feel like their problems are understood and that there is a reasonable solution? The only thing they have to do is click the button. That's the next step. Does it speak to their soul? Does it feel like you, a real freaking person, understand them well enough to provide them with a solution? And third, does it build a need throughout the page so that the investment section feels like an oh hell yes? Like a absolutely click here, take my money, maybe there's a payment plan on the other side, I just need to click this darn button to find out. Does your sales page build a need so that the investment feels like an oh hell yes? Of course, there's nuance to this as well. Sometimes we're selling services that are a quick service, it's $200. Sometimes we're selling services that are $20,000 year-long investments. For those bigger investments, you probably need more on your sales page. Those problem sections might be longer. The solutions might go more in depth. We might talk about every single thing that's presented in every single module. There's nuance to every sales page. But ultimately, you're going to need those 3 things. You're going to need a great above the fold that hooks people in and keeps them reading. You're going to need an investment section, and you're going to need to understand their problems and solutions. If you feel like this is really overwhelming, I get it. That's fine. That's what I do for a living. That's why there is a need and a value to what I do, right? So if you want to hand this over to someone, I encourage you to go to the show notes, get on my calendar, or go to nomadcopyagency.com/contact. That's where you can tell me a little bit about what you have on your plate, and we can talk about what it takes to solve it. Again, I will always be pricing transparent. It is a minimum of $2,500 to do a project, for me to do a done-for-you project. This comes back to that pricing is going to change depending on what your needs are. But if you also would prefer support in a done-with-you capacity, that's where Copy on Demand comes in. You can go to nomadcopyagency.com/copy-on-demand. The link to that is also going to be in the show notes. Or if you're just getting started, grab the opt-in copybot. That will write the above the fold section for you as long as you have a ChatGPT account. That is also linked in the show notes. If you have questions about what goes on your sales page, y'all, it is me in the DMs. It is me handling my email. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I will see you next week where we are going to dig way further into how to frame up the value of what you do when you're putting pricing on your sales page. I'll see you next week.